Oh my gosh, everyone, welcome to Curveball. Today I have a treat. I have this woman with the most poetic name, Fleur Sclarandis. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? That's going to become my alter ego now. When I'm going to tell my husband, I'm no longer Heather, I'm Fleur Sclarandis. And I got to tell you, she had at one point in her life the credentials, the clients, the career. She had climbed that personal development ladder, fighting run by rung. She was a trained psychotherapist, a certified coach, totally legit. And by all accounts, if you looked at her from the outside and look at this gorgeous woman, you would have been thinking, oh my God, I help people and I love it dream. Like she's completely living it. But inside, total fog, zero joy. And then her body pulled the emergency brake, landing her in a neurology unit, unable to walk. What the? And that not actually Guillain Bar. I'm not even going to try to.
Gillian
Not
Barry.
Guillain Barry. That also might be my other alter ego moment. Was a full body mic drop from the universe, which is you're done, babe. And that's legit. So, but since then, this lovely lady has gone from burnout to breakthrough, not through another expensive mastermind or hyper optimized morning routine. There's no juicing involved, but by ditching the grind, questioning the rules, and rewriting her relationship to her work, worth, and what it means to create a life that actually feels good all the way around, mind, heart, and body. Now she's teaching others how to step off the self help hamster wheel and into something softer, truer, and way more sustainable. Fleur, welcome to Curveball. I am so excited you're here.
Oh, well, thank you, Heather. And what an introduction. Oh my God, that is a mic drop. Thank you so much. Wow.
You are so welcome. We were talking before the show started. I was like, I got to hit record because this is such good conversation. My brain broke last year, and one of the things I had to do, like you, is I had to slow down. There wasn't My energy was very different, but still, like, I made the conscious decision to be still. And as I recovered, it has been my intention to keep everything low and slow and not get sucked back into how life was, how like business, I guess business as usual, just because I've had a relatively like pretty amazing recovery. And then that incident just becomes some crazy thing that happened in 2024. So take us back to that moment when you collapsed. That must be, I cannot even imagine what it would be like to just all of a sudden not be able to walk. And what did you just tell me about that moment?
Yeah, it was almost like 9 years ago now, and it was out of the blue. So, like you said, everything on paper was great, but I was dying on the inside. But I just kept
Hmm.
plugging away, plugging away. And then I was actually running a training course the day before, and I was like on fire with energy. And then I woke up in the night and I couldn't feel my legs. Like they didn't feel like they belonged to my body. And I started tapping them, and I was like, that not like they don't feel like they're mine. And I was like, okay, maybe I'm just a little bit overwhelmed. It's the middle of the night. All your gremlins get you in the dark, don't they? Where all these dark thoughts
Yes.
are. I was like, it's okay. I woke up in the morning and I felt incredibly dizzy. I had to go back and lie down because I thought I was going to pass out. Eventually, when I got out of bed and I was being really slow and I was like, something is off. About a couple of hours later, luckily, I got into the passenger seat of a car. So I was getting a lift just locally, and my body just completely collapsed. I didn't lose consciousness like I'd had a few weeks before, where I'd actually fainted, which was my first warning, which I ignored. Yeah.
Because I get it. Because what would you do? You'd go to a doctor and just say, "Oh, I fainted yesterday." Like I totally get it. And then the doctor would say, "You were probably dehydrated." You know what I mean? Everyone's trying to find the answer. So I can see if you feel fine, where you would just be like, "Okay, that was just a weird thing that happened."
Totally. And this is why I am so passionate about us like listening to our bodies, because my body, this didn't come out of the blue really. For months, I
Mm.
had really bad fatigue. I was tired. I had no motivation, but I decided to hit it hard with doing hit training until the point I couldn't anymore. And I'd get home from work and I'd just go into bed. And then I was like trying to do all the healthy eating. And then it just got to the point where I was like, whatever I'm fueling my body with, it isn't enough. And that day, yeah, I had said, take me to hospital. Something's really weird. Like I couldn't move my body. I couldn't get out of the car. I had to be physically taken out of the car, put in a
Like
wheelchair.
you couldn't even, did it feel like you were like sometimes you have those dreams like your limbs are just like you cannot even move them? Is that what that felt like? But you were awake?
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you like I can't even imagine the thoughts that must go through your mind. Like this is serious. Oh no, this is it
Yeah.
must be so many thousands of split fire conversations going on in your brain.
Yeah, like in the movies when, the character is like having an out of body experience and everything just fades into an echoey in the background and they're like,
Yes.
yeah, that's what it was like. And for a
Did you
moment,
think you were dying?
yeah, and actually I was sat there in the hospital. I remember thinking, waiting in the emergency room because I wasn't at an emergency. So there was a bit of a wait. And I just remember,
Wait. Okay, wait a second. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm completely paralyzed suddenly. I'm this healthy, vibrant woman and I can't feel my okay. That's like a class, that's like a B. You're not like the A list. What was going on that someone was going to get in ahead of you? Oh my goodness.
I think you had to be like, major car accident, that kind of
Oh, okay.
life or death.
Yes.
But it was clear that I was alive. So very much like we're very blessed that we have a national health service here. So we don't have to pay for our medical treatment, but it doesn't mean that everything is amazing. Like we're
Right, right.
incredibly blessed. But yeah, it's a bit of a broken service. So if you're breathing and alive, drive on. So I sat there thinking, if this is it, just take me now. I just can't be bothered. I'm so tired. And my thought was, I don't want to fight anymore.
Mm.
I can't. And I just remember thinking, if I just fall asleep and fade out now, okay, it's curtains for me. I'm done. I'm done.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so then what did it turn out to be? What did it turn out to be? So it was not Guillain-Barré, which I will eventually be able, I'll practice pronouncing that. But so it wasn't that, but I know what you go down like all those neurological. So what were they looking for?
They looked for everything. They couldn't understand. I was like 34 years old at the time, nearly 35. And they were like, how can you go from being perfectly healthy and not having any kind of medical history, like fit, healthy, well, to this? So they tested me for all, so I didn't even know what they were testing me for a lot of the time. They did all the functional neurological tests on me. And they were like, everything's coming back clear, your blood, everything is fine. And I was like, I'm clearly not. And it's Saturday. And on Monday, I have to go to work and I can't. So
Right.
they're going to need to give me a note or something because you can't just discharge me because you haven't found anything. So they never actually diagnosed me with anything. But because they were very holistic, which is unusual for,
Right.
allopathic.
Any sort of Western medical doctor, I feel like.
Yeah, one of the things that hit home when they were like, they'd go through my relationships, my work. And what I really started to realize was work had taken over my life. In theory, I had hobbies. I didn't do any of them. All I did was eat, sleep, work, repeat, eat, sleep, work, repeat.
Hmm.
Nothing else at all. And I think really I came to the realization looking at the journal that I'd kept where I remember so clearly, and I don't know if people can relate to this, but I was like, I feel like I'm on a runaway train that I don't know where the emergency stop is. And I'm like running through the carriages, desperately wanting to
Oh,
get off this train. And I can't find the emergency cord, but I just need to get off. And I can't
right.
keep up and I can't keep the pretense up. So
Right.
I
And then people are on the tracks like cheering you on. Yes, you're doing
realized,
amazing too. And you're just like, I'm really not. So your body, because there wasn't anything, so it was like a literal, like physical collapse. Like your body can legit do that. Like one day you're okay, the next night you're just like, wait, what's happening? And then you just can't move.
it's
So
like,
then what? What do you do? Like it's sometimes it's great to not have a diagnosis, meaning, oh, it's not neurological or it's not MS or Parkinson's or something like that. But it's also weird when you also don't know what it is. And it's so it was like it feels like it was something that was a completely organic thing.
yeah. If there's a book written by Gabor Mate, and like I was like, oh my God, I ended up reading it because the title is When the Body Says No. And I was like, yeah, that's what my body did. And I remember listening to a podcast by Joe Dispenza, and he was like, you
He's
don't
one of
listen
my
to your body.
favorites.
I love him. was great. And I remember thinking he was saying that if you don't listen to your body and, you're constantly overwhelmed and stressed, your body will have a panic attack without you. Those were his exact words. And I was like, oh my God, that's what happened to me. I had a physical, complete nervous breakdown. My body was like, if you're not going to listen to me and give me a break, I'm going to put the
Right.
brake on. And it
And
did.
and isn't it funny because you were saying that you were feeling like low energy, so I also had many hints that there was something going on in my butt, like a couple of years before. But what was I going to do? Go to a doctor and say, oh, something's so strange, like my legs feel strangely heavy in yoga. No, but what you do is you do more yoga. Like you were like, I started to do those high intensity workouts, So what is it? Why do you think, like, I'm so interested in now that you've had this time away from that response, which is, I'm tired. And instead of resting, we're like, no, I'm going to take you to the limit. I'm going to push you harder, even though you're throwing up the flag saying, hey, I'm really tired. Why do you think we do that? Is it human? Is it a woman thing? Is it a society thing? Is it an entrepreneurial thing that people are like, you got to be this heroic, figure it out through cold plunges kind of lifestyle? Like, why do you think that was the response? Like, it's because I also sometimes listen to how people talk about healing themselves. Like, I got to get my ass, I got to kick myself in the ass. I got to, you know, and they'll use very aggressive language too. And I always find that to be so interesting. So, why do you think?
All of the above, Heather. Yeah, like there's the global side, the societal, there's like being a woman. We live in a patriarchy, okay? And, that kind of masculine vibe that we live in
Yes, sorry, fellas, but the
is.
patriarchy is real. And if you're like, I don't see it, it's because you're part of it.
Yeah, but also we are as well as women.
Yes.
And the
Yes.
patriarchy isn't men. It's like it's an ideology. So
Yes.
I'm not man bashing, okay? Just to be
No,
really.
I actually appreciate that because, yes, because I was just in a castle. You live in the UK. I was just in a castle where I saw these implements of torture, these metal masks. So if a husband thought his wife was gossipy or a liar or just talked too much or was an idiot, that was their word, you would have to wear a metal mask or a horse bridle that would dislocate your jaw. And I'm like, okay, that's not that it's hundreds of years ago, but we have come a long way, but that was like how things were too. So, that's so interesting.
So interesting. And that's a whole other aside thing. It's called a
Oh,
skull
yeah.
cancer. And like, yeah, and that's a lot of the reason why women, it was used to silence women. And that is a huge part of these things that are passed down through generations as to why women have fear about speaking up and not using their
Right.
voices
Yes.
because of, yeah, all this historical
Oh
stuff.
my
But
gosh. Like, I don't know how I haven't put two and two together, but I think about, I read this amazing book called Bittersweet, and it was all about epigenetics. And then I think about Dr. Joe Dispenza just saying that there could, and I have clients who are shamans who are like, you have generational trauma, and it literally goes right down to the creation of your DNA. That is, okay, it's all making sense. It's all tracking now. That is so
Mhm.
interesting. Okay, keep going. Yes.
Yeah, so things are really like passed down. So yeah, as I was saying, like we live in this kind of patriarchal culture, which is hustle, grind, push harder, do more. Sleep is for the weak. Don't sleep. Rest is for people. What is rest? You're not being productive. If you're busy,
Right.
you're productive and if you're productive, you're adding value. It's all these things that we're not even aware of that we feed into.
Right. No, because
So
I take naps all the time. And I'm like, I bet Marie Forleo never takes naps. And I'm like, no, of course she doesn't, because she's a completely wired, different human being. Or maybe she does and we just don't know. But that's my perception. Yeah. I totally get that.
yeah, and people would have looked at me and they were like, she has got it made. Look at her. She's on fire. I wasn't. I was just so deeply unhappy, but I would put the mask on, the happy face on for everybody else.
Right.
I would push on through. And I was like, comparing, this is what we do as well. When we live in this culture, you compare yourself to other people and you're like, they're coping. You have no idea. You don't know if
Right.
they don't cry every single day or if they hate their lives, but you're like, oh my God, I need to try harder because we equate
Yes.
hard work with success. What we like, one of the big woo moments I had was they were like, in terms of your impact, that should equal like the income and the value you're adding. It's all about the impact. It's not about the hard work. Like you can work really hard and burn yourself
Right.
to the ground. it doesn't necessarily mean that you're really living with purpose and intentionality and making a difference. Like, you have to separate the two. But again, that also comes from like the religions that we've had fed down the years.
Right.
The devil makes work for idle hands. And I think that's the expression. I've probably got it wrong. But
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, it's really powerful how these things filter down without us being consciously aware of them.
Right. So, but that's so interesting because then you went after your recovery, it sounds like you went searching for clarity. So you started to travel, you were finding gurus, and you were doing these sabbaticals, right? So you were hitting the taking it easy part, even hitting that hard too. But you really, but all, of course, like all of it has purpose because you had a huge realization when you were like, the answers are not out there, they're someplace else. So what ultimately helped you reconnect with yourself and then rebuild really on your own terms? Not, oh, I had this experience, I must go, I feel compelled to go to India for 3 months, which is hard. I have never been, but I would imagine that's not an easy place. Or you feel like, oh, I'm going to travel and do this for 3 months, and I just, that's stressful. You know what I mean? So what was that like? And then at what point were you just, wait, I've been on this conditioned path, even though that tricked me into thinking it was my path. So then how do you make that transition? What was that moment like?
I think it wasn't really a moment. And I think this is the big thing that I would like people to know, that there is no silver bullet. There is no stone hidden in the earth. Because I was digging like, a rabid dog. Like, I was like, there's a stone hidden somewhere here with my life purpose and what I'm supposed to do and all the
Right.
answers and healing. And it's buried here somewhere. There
Yes.
isn't. Like, all of these things are great to try, but like, the real miracle is it's you. And actually, one of the seminal moments, if I had to pinpoint it, was when I watched this movie called Kumare. I don't know if we can drop a link into it later. I
Right.
think you can watch it for free online. It is about an Indian guru who's a fake guru, okay? And the whole premise of the movie, it's a documentary, is that the guru is in you. And when I watched that, I saw myself and all these
Mm.
looking up to this person, wanting to have the answers, wanting the wisdom. And I was like, wow, he was just reflecting back the wisdom that existed in them in the first place. But they didn't see that. And then, yeah, it was a real moment of, oh my God, I keep searching and searching. But actually, it starts with you going inside yourself and realizing just how
Right.
each one of us as an individual with our life experience has.
That is so interesting. So it sounds so amazing when you're like, oh my gosh, the answers are inside. And when you can tap into that. But I'm certain there are people, including a version of myself, who's okay, but if it's inside, like I got to start digging and trying to find the stone, like my stone with my life's purpose inside. So how do you, what does that really, or is it just so completely individual for people? Or how does somebody really, I'm trying to think about, because I had this extreme experience, and you had an extreme physical experience. And as a result of that, we're like, I'm going to make sure there's meaning out of this. I'm not going to have this. This was a gift. Somehow this happened for meaning and purpose. And so I'm going to find the meaning and purpose in this. And so I know what that feels like when you're just like, you talked about comparison. And I just realized how much I was following other people's advice. And I remember the voice, like I get something that I feel like I call a divine download, like especially because I'm a creative. So if I get an idea, it sometimes comes in like very suddenly. And what was so interesting is this message that was like, maybe you're listening to other people too much and not enough to yourself. And it was a whisper where I was just like, wait, like what? And it was like, hey, maybe, I don't know. Did you think ever that you're listening to? And it was so quiet. But now I know that's, I don't know, my wisdom inside. It's not loud, but that's what it feels like to me. So what does that feel like to you? And what's a way that someone can start to look inward without having to become paralyzed or having a brain aneurysm?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't want to go that extreme, like, yeah.
No, no, although you said there are no silver bullets. If there ever is one, I'm going to say we had some pretty good, we had some things that were at least silver plated.
Yeah, and I know that, like, talking now, like, your experience, it sounds like, "Oh, this happened and now I'm here," but there's a really ugly, messy part. Like, I was off work for 6 weeks, like, I couldn't move, and, like, I was crying every single day, and I was having a
Yes.
major existential crisis. That's all, like, the ugly, messy part. It's not like you go through these horrible things that happen, and then you
No.
decide and you're like, "This happened, but now I'm great."
No, it's like I know those moments because I had to close my agent. Like I had to stop working. I could not take in clients. And then I thought when I was going to be ready, I still needed time to rest. And so, but it is actually, again, everything I think happens for a reason because it's been really fun. Like I'm obviously not starting from zero, but in many ways, I'm starting from zero, like from a very exciting zero to really rebuild and not, and just not go back to, the hustle, the grind, the comparison. Because while I was like enjoying my life, I don't know if I could say like how happy I was. And so one of the things you talk about is being, I love this, being a reformed self-help, a manifestation junkie. Because one of the things I remember thinking when the pressures if I ever felt like a societal narrative was that you had to be heroic. And I was having like muscle wasting. So if I exercised, I was going to lose. It was like a punch card. I only have a finite amount of muscle. And so like people would say, you got to do physical therapy. And I'd be like, oh my God, like just that you got to do these things and be heroic. Or what are you going to launch? What are you going to do before your brain surgery? And I'm just like, I felt it was radical that I was going to choosing to be still and choosing to rest and to nap and to watch movies and to not do things because I was different. And the second thing was I always had to have a positive thought. And if I had any negative thoughts, I somehow had to like turn it around into a positive thought or I was going to manifest that bad outcome. So talk to me about being a reformed self-help and manifestation junkie because I just literally wrote a social media post that said people are saying people aren't buying because you don't believe in yourself or it's your mindset. And I'm like, yikes, that's not always the case. So talk to me more about that. What do you think is misunderstood or oversold in the personal development world?
Oh, where do I even start? Okay, one of
Yeah.
the things, like, just to take away is, and I suppose it's for everybody, but particularly because I'm very passionate about supporting women, that women need support. We don't need more self-help. Okay. And I think that's one of the things that like,
That's very good. Yeah.
yeah, like women need support. We need each other. We need to be listened to, validated, and we need to have those talents and all these things like brought out of us. And we need that nurture. We don't need more self help. All it
Right.
does is make us feel even worse about ourselves, like we're failing, we're not good enough. It feeds into that horrible disease of comparisonitis where we're always like, oh, she's doing better than me, or I could be like that. Why can't I do that? So there's so many things that are really toxic for me in the world of self-help. It is essentially the bottom line is that you are not enough. Oh, are you even
Yeah,
going
right.
there? Are you doing the 9 to 5, 5 to 9 before the 9 to 5? Are you doing your manifestation rituals? Are you gratitude journaling? There's an endless list.
You don't have an altar in your house with
Why?
sacred totems from like something like Sanskrit. Like, I mean, I started my entrepreneurial journey in a spiritual community. And I remember just feeling so lousy in that group because I wasn't like a spiritual coach or like an angel card reader. And they actually, like, at this one retreat, they kept on calling me corporate because like my background. And I was just like, I'm like, aren't we at a place like everyone's supposed to like really be accepting? It was so interesting to me. That's no longer where I am. I found my people, who were spiritual, but also wanted to have fun and grow a business, and they don't care, Yeah, that's really, yeah. So what, if someone's feeling like, what is it about manifestation then? Like, that is probably completely misunderstood that we just, and we accept it. I just think about every time I walk my dogs, I listen to Abraham Hicks. So I know a lot about the law of attraction and I get it. Like, go to a place that feels good because like energy just attracts like energy. Like, I totally get that. But sometimes again, like I was afraid to feel an emotion And the thing is, I felt like trying to take a emotion like sadness, for instance, or like confusion, I would say too, and trying to stop that and not feel that. Because when I allowed myself to feel it, I was like, then you feel it, and then it's almost like over, like you're not fighting against. I don't know. It was just, I just thought manifestation. I'm like, manifestation is keeping me from feeling all the feelings that are part of this kind of experience.
Yeah. Yeah. And in fact, what you just said is beautiful. And it's like what I finally learned through like the Vipassana meditation and my own experience. And again, remember this phrase, you have to feel it to heal it. You
Yeah.
have to feel
Oh,
it.
yeah.
What you feel, like it's not going to last forever. It's our feelings, our emotions won't hurt us. You are not going to physically be harmed from feeling an ugly emotion that you don't enjoy. What harms us is the suppression of them. And again, it's what we're taught by society. Like being high vibe is like what's valued in this kind of like the manifesting world. It's totally okay to feel like utter crap and to be really sad. And it's human and it's
Right.
normal. And what we end up doing is rather than actually feeling it so that it can flow out the door, we trap it inside our house, like inside our body, and hold on to
Right.
it. It's just, this is what I really want people to know. If you have a negative emotion, it's not about course correcting and being positive. Feel it, lean into it, feel it. The storm won't last forever. I had one recently, like I had this emotional storm. I had something happen and it was ugly. Like it was just very, like a lot of stuff came up, and I was like, wow,
Right.
this is intense. And it was a big storm. And I woke up the next day and I was like, I think the storm is over, but the forecast this week looking a little bit uncertain, a bit like the British weather. I was like, kind
Yes.
of
Right. Right.
eventually felt it. You know, a few days later, I was re-regulated because of the fact that I felt it. I scaled back all the kind of social commitments.
Right.
I was kind to myself. I took time to rest. And instead of it lasting a month or like really harming me, it passed. But it's what we resist persists. That's just
Yes.
what it is.
Like I have a really good friend who's a meditation teacher. She's like a friend and mentor, and she's also a Buddhist. And they're like really, like there's a like there are very clear boundaries. And I get it because she can hold space for hundreds of people. And I'm like, I get that. You have to have that separation of just, and it really is just letting someone live their own life and not messing, with it, like understanding they're on their own journey and you can't, don't get involved in that. Don't, and I like when I see her, because I've been to a retreat by her, and it's so funny because we're friends, and she's, oh, just wait till you see me working. And I was like, wow, you're amazing. But I remember she kept on saying she was one of the people who I reached out to, and she was really good. She's, don't let anyone speculate, because speculation is just a story. And don't get ahead of yourself. Like try to just stay as present as you can and just stick to the facts. And so I just remember having this moment where sadness was like my overwhelming feeling. And I just remember starting to cry so hard about the thought of maybe dying. And I would just miss my kids. And oh, yeah, I can haunt them from heaven, but duh, no, I want to see them. And so I just remember thinking, like, oh no, I got to somehow like turn this around. And then I thought, no, this is such a pure emotion. Like it was such a pure emotion. It was so like, not even just like pure, like almost like a child, like suffering or crying. So I'm like, oh no, like just, I was like, name the emotion. So I'm like, what am I feeling? I'm feeling sad. And I'm like, what am I sad about? And I was like, I'm sad about dying and not seeing my kids. And then I was like, that is absolutely something to be sad about. And then I thought of my friend Monique and I was like, but sweetheart, do we have any facts to support that? And 100% of the time with my health, at that time, I didn't. And so then I was just like, that's just speculation. That's just a story. But there was like something literally in my brain. Like I know it was in my amygdala because
Mm.
I was like very much crying. And 40 seconds later, I was completely calm. And I've employed it so many times, but my daughter was really upset a couple weeks ago. And I used that with her that I'm like, honey, how are you feeling? She told me, and I said, what does that feel like? And so she told me, and I'm like, that is absolutely like, but do you have any facts to support this? And then she was like, no. And then it was so interesting. And I said, isn't it crazy? Like, you're completely calm. But the thing is, I felt the whole of the emotion. And
Mhm.
then, so I get that when you're saying, let it come, let it feel, because once you process it, like it's gone. If I wanted to go back to that feeling of sadness, I can't, like, because it's complete. And that's what I think is really amazing. Because I would have never known that had I not, you know, had everything happen to actually have this happen really organically and then just be like, wait a second,
Yeah.
hold on a second. This is between that and breath and sleep. I was just like, wait, I have these tools like that I am using, and no one even, I can just sit there and think about them in my mind. Like, it's just, we are like a pretty incredible creation.
We
Like we have a lot of stuff built in to help us, like breath, sleep, meditation, all those things.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing as well for me that I've learned is to simplify things. You don't need a million apps. You don't
No.
need a million different things. Like nature is incredibly healing. Being around nature, you were talking about accessing those downloads. There's two things that are really important with that. And you can get those from the breath, your own breath, and from nature, because your soul will whisper
Mm.
you in moments of silence. So, number one is your imagination is incredibly powerful. We are physiologically like an absolute expression of divine intelligence. We are
Yes.
incredible. But also, like the way that we get guidance, I was really obsessed with getting spiritual guidance. I was like, why am I not getting answers? I'm praying and nothing comes to me. That's because I didn't trust in my imagination. I was getting ideas. Ideas are guidance. Hear a
Yes.
voice or you see an image. Who's to say if it's real or not? And if it helps you or if it's meaningful to you and it touches you, it doesn't
Right.
matter what anyone else thinks. I hear things all the time. Like I'm not very like what's the word when people see things like
Oh, clairvoyant. Yeah.
I'm a clairaudient. I will hear downloads. I will hear things. Who's to say that it's not true or not true? It doesn't matter. If it's meaningful
Right.
to you, roll with it. So that's the first thing. Trust your imagination. But also, in order to be able to hear these things, the reason why so many of us are disconnected from our intuition and accessing guidance when we're like in that place, like I have been literally on my knees, bawling my eyes out, being like, please give me a sign.
Yes,
You
like I'll do
kind of,
anything. I'll do any, you start to bargain with
yeah.
God. Yes, I know that
Yeah, and you're
feeling.
like, oh, I want to see like repeating numbers or a rainbow or something, and you get nothing. The
Yes.
thing is, the reason why you get blocked off from that channel of intuition is because you're anxious and you're in a sort of heightened state of like frenzy. So it's so important
Right.
periodically. Like it's not just when you get to like where we were at, where it was like crisis point. You need to still yourself because we live in such a busy world where we're
Right.
bombarded with information. So nature, drop the phone, get rid of it, go out for a nature walk and just be still. And you will be surprised when your like body regulates itself and calms down, even if you don't
Yes.
realize you're stressed. I didn't think I was stressed. I was like, I'm totally chilled. But my body
Right.
was saying other things.
Yeah.
But you'll be amazed at what you can get, what information you can get in the stillness, trusting your imagination, and in that silence.
Oh, I love that because like how I was saying, like when ideas come to me, and I know
Mhm.
what it feels like when I throw a line out. I feel like I'm fishing off the side of the pier and it's in the water and I'm just sort of waiting for that inspiration on the other side. And I remember having this idea for something for my business, and I was just like, so I know I threw the line, like I know what it feels like when I feel like, oh, this is something, it's good, it's sticky. I feel I'm behind this, like it's a good idea. And then I was waiting and waiting. And then I was just like, God, you normally don't take this long. Like, what's going on? And I remember sitting down to start working on it. But one of the things that I realized when I had like my still life summer last summer is that when I push things, I'm not 100% behind it. And so I remember starting to work on it and I thought, no, don't, you can't create from this place of wanting something to have that inspiration. And so it was very interesting. And I remember I was working with this human design coach, and there were a couple times where I called her where I'm just like, I'm not getting it. I'm so frustrated. And she would say, oh, you're just like stepping into like whatever, stepping into something new, like all that good stuff. And I'm just like, I don't, I'm in the discomfort of the growth because I am feeling really frustrated and I'm feeling like pressure now. And then I was just like not allowing myself to go there. and then being excited. Like the way that I guess the thing I do is I'll turn it around to being like curious. Like, and sometimes I'll be like, oh, I'm so goddamn curious to find out when this inspiration is going to strike me. But then it does sort of become like a game, and curiosity just immediately opens you to possibility. So then I know I'm open when I'm like that. So I'm just open to for when that comes. And it hit like literally like at 4 o'clock on a Monday, and then I ended up putting the whole thing together. Like it was one of those things I stayed up till 3 in the morning, and I was just like, wait a second, where did all that time go? And so it is worth it to figure it out, because that's like the fun and I feel like get rewarded in flow. That's when the work like falls out of you. Like when I say like it just falls out of me, it's because I'm not pushing it. I'm not trying to make it happen, I guess. Because I guess when we're sitting there praying and we're crying, we're deciding what that looks like how this information or how this thing we're looking for is going to show up. And the thing is, we don't always know. And that makes it so much more fun when it does show up,
100%. I tell you, I once read this quote and it's like but it relates to so many things. It said, love is like a fart. If you have to force it, it's probably crap. And I actually think
Wait, say that again. Love is like oh, wait, that's hilarious. Like I keep on saying I should make like bumper stickers or laptop stickers of amazing things people say on Curveball, and that would be one of them. That is so funny.
yeah, I take no credit for it. I have no idea who the original author is. I take no credit for this. I just saw it and
I'm giving you full credit because that's the first time I've heard it.
yeah, I'll say it again. So love is like a fart. If you have to force it, it's probably crap.
Oh my God, I love it. I love it.
But I think actually like context of a relationship or dating and actually just apply it to anything in life. Like when you are forcing and you're in that, it's like you're creatively constipated, but you're like trying to force something to come out. You get
Right.
stressed, you get frustrated, you feel, and then you start to get, time sickness where you're like, oh my God, there's not enough time. And so you start to
Right.
feel frenzy of it has to happen in a particular way at a particular time frame. And so what that does is it creates attachment to an outcome. And when you're attached
Right.
to an outcome, it's really hard for you. Like you go into the spiral where you're like, oh my God, if I have to make it all happen, I'm by myself. It's me against the world. And everything feels like a struggle. And when you feel that and those thoughts come in, that is your cue. And I have been there so many times. I'm not
Oh,
saying it
yes.
from
Right.
the lofty pulpit of enlightenment. I say this because I'm
From the
human.
trenches of like, I'm sure you probably felt something like that yesterday.
Yes, I have
Yeah.
felt this so many times in my life where I'm like, you attach to the outcome, you don't realize you've attached to it. And basically, essentially in your mind, you're like, I will be happy when. Like, it will be okay when this
Yes.
happens to me.
Right.
And this is why that is your cue that you have to let go, you have to surrender, and you have to step back from from things happening on your time frame because we don't control the universe, we co-create.
Right.
And actually, like sometimes when we have a really rigid way of things to be, we block things that are really aligned for us to come in, like ideas or other people, because we think it
Right.
has to be this particular way. And it
Yes.
reminds me of this Alanis Morissette song where in it, that one of the lyrics is, the moment I let go of it was the moment I got more than I could handle. And
Yes.
it's so true. And I actually have this little statue, like in my room by my bed, of a little pair of hands, like in the kind of holding position.
Yes.
Because I was once told if you want to receive more and you also want to keep your energy clear, you don't hold what you have with closed hands because A, you can't see what you're holding, and B, you're
Right.
sending a signal out that like you're fearful of losing what you have. But what if
Right.
it serves its purpose? Open your hands, hold what you have with grace and gratitude, but also allow things to flow that no longer serve you. And then you can
Yes.
welcome more aligned things in. And that's my little symbol, like my little mental anchor that I'm like, am I gripping to an outcome? Does it have to be this specific thing? Or
Right.
can I allow myself to be like, okay, like you say, be curious and let's see what
Right.
playful and be like,
Yes.
what's going to happen? Instead of it has
Yes.
to happen like this.
Yes, exactly. That's what I think is so fun about, I'm lucky enough to be a creative and then being able to work with designers, and I'm sort of a designer too. And it's like, I love to tell my clients, they're like, so what do you think you're going to do? And I'm like, I honestly have no idea, but I know what it feels like when I have all the information. So I know something good is going to come out on the other side. But it is just the absolute coolest thing is that you start off with an idea and then you end up with something concrete. And I just want to like, because I was experimenting a lot with AI because I had a lot of, advisors saying, oh, you should put out a product around AI. And the thing is, in marketing and branding, there's a very clear order of operations. And I remember putting together this AI that, of course, is like amazing, right? But I was thinking the whole time, I'm like, oh my God, like I'm giving people like brand positioning and all this customer research, and they're not even going to know what to do with it. And I was like, I'm not being like, I'm giving the AI, but I'm not helping the people the way that they really need to be helped. And so I realized I was not 100% behind that offer. And then I hate that marketing with open cart, closed cart. I'm doing this big launch. It's like this 10 days of just a marketing frenzy because it's just no fun to me. But I would market like that because that's what my mentors told me. This is the way it's done. And then I was just like, why? I do it because it's like I'm doing it. And of course it's written and everything, but I'm not 100% behind it. So then I'm like, why do I think I have to do it? There's not only one way to do it. And so that was like when this little voice and it was quiet that said, maybe are you listening to other people more than you're listening to yourself? And I was like, where are you? How do I get more of you? Like that is so cool. So you have built your life is grounded now. Like you have a grounded life and business, or if it feels like you have a practice to get grounded, even if it's still a little bit of a work in progress. So what does success look like for you today? And then what are the surprising things that bring you peace now that you couldn't even imagine doing when you were like in it?
Wow, I love this question. So success really is about being at peace with myself. And that,
Mm,
like, yeah, there's things in my life that are not, my life isn't shiny, and I'm not a shiny internet person. And I never ever want to be that. I had a very similar experience to you where I had a lot of mentors and people were like, this is how you do things. And it was very strategic, but it didn't feel aligned for me. I'm an
right.
introvert. I'm a highly sensitive person. I really value like integrity and just like face to face, real intimate, meaningful conversations, and all
Yes.
this shiny stuff like showing up on TikTok. And so I don't do social media. I just got rid of the whole thing because I do Substack and like I love writing. So for me today, success really, and I'd say this to anyone, it's like you have to go to bed and wake up in the morning and be able to look in the mirror and feel at peace with who you are.
Mm,
That is success. That is success. Like to feel at peace and to know that like you are living life that's true to you, whatever that looks like, because success will look
right.
different to everyone. So for me, I know that is my marker. Like, am I okay with who I am and where I'm at, regardless of what I'm achieving or doing? And one
Right.
of the phrases that I hold on to still, and I would share this with people, particularly if you're an entrepreneur listening to this, or if you're like trying to build something, your work is not your worth.
Right. Yes.
You have
Yes.
so much more value than that. And you probably have an impact on people and have had conversations with people and have touched people's lives in profoundly meaningful ways that you might not ever know about. So
Right.
don't get hooked on this whole idea that like what you do is the most important thing about you. The most important and interesting thing about you is you. It's not what
Right. Oh my gosh. Yes. You are like preaching to the choir on that too. Like I know I've seen videos on social media where they're like, there are people who think about you and just laugh because like they think you're so funny or you made them feel this way. And I remember once being in this program with my friend Monique, my Buddhist mentor. And, we were doing, it was like these little daily meditations and journaling exercises. And so I was crushing it, like the whole week. And then there was like, and everything was about gratitude and showing gratitude for other people. So then on the last day of this particular module, it was about people who are grateful for you. And I remember literally sitting there, and it's 10 o'clock at night in Denver. And like, you're supposed to write it like in this little course portal, like and I just remember thinking, like, I don't know why anyone would be grateful to me for anything. And so, people would just say, oh, but what about your kids? And I'm like, that's because you're supposed to be a good parent. Or what about your work? And I'm like, that's because You're supposed to be a good worker. I remember she called me, like she was like, I've never had anyone that happen. And it was like, but talking about receiving and then acknowledging that, like I acknowledged, like, I guess I accepted I was good at my job, that people would be grateful for me though. But that was a hard one for some reason.
Yeah, women generally find it very hard to receive. We're programmed and conditioned in society to give love, to be nurtured,
Yes.
kind to everybody else, to be selfless, not selfish. And it is
Right.
really hard. So sometimes I like to say, visualize a tree and you imagine a tree. It's not there thinking, the sun doesn't think you've had your quota of sunshine or you've had your
Right.
quota of rain. The tree isn't there thinking, oh my God, like I don't feel good enough. Like it will take, and the sun loves to give. Like the universe
Yes.
loves to give abundantly. Like the rain, like it brings it joy to be able to see the tree growing. And like we are like
Yes.
that. Like us receiving things doesn't impoverish anybody else, but it's
Right.
really hard when you're in that, because I had that issue as well. I would give freely. I had a very open heart chakra. Like I was giving, but my channel for reception and receiving, which was why I burn out as well, because you
Right.
can't give from an empty cup. I
No.
was giving everything I possibly could because it came from a place of not unworthiness and shame and not enoughness and not feeling good,
Mm.
which was also what fueled my obsession with like personal development, because I was like,
Right.
if I just improve and I can just be better, I'll finally be good enough. But then I kind of got to a stage where I was really like legit and I still couldn't receive. So it's definitely, yeah, a challenge for a lot of women to just be able
Yes.
to receive a compliment, a gift, help,
Oh,
support.
yes. Like my grandmother, who I just absolutely adored. And I guess like when you get into your late 80s or 90s, you can say this and no one thinks. So if you gave her a compliment, she'd be like, thank you, tell me more. And I thought, oh my God, that's incredible. But that should be the mentality, which is because, like, how many times have you given someone a compliment? Because my kids sometimes get absolutely mortified. But if I see someone and I have something nice to say to them, I'm for sure going to say that. And I was just in Amsterdam last week and I'm like, oh my God, like the people in Amsterdam are also so nice. I told my husband, I'm like, I need another 20 minutes because I'm meeting all these super nice people. But how many times I give a compliment to someone, oh, that is an adorable dress, or you look so great, or you have a beautiful smile or something, like how people will, like, especially if you compliment their outfits, they're like, oh, I got this on sale, or it was so, it's just interesting to see what people do and how they deflect. And I'm just like, you should just say thank you. I receive. And when I've had someone, and I have to do this sometimes, I have to hold my hand over my heart because it's literally impossible to have a negative thought about yourself when your hands are on your heart for some reason. Like I'm trying right now and it's not working. My heart is, you're just trying to make that up right now. But I say I receive that too. Like when someone says something like, thank you. Because like my clients will say, oh, you did a great job for me. And I'm like, I had a lot of great material to work with. And it's receive the compliment. One of my students told me that. She's, if you don't receive the compliment, I don't know. We're not closing that loop. So, all right, Fleur, if people are like, wow, Fleur, this amazing, I'm floored by Fleur, just with all this incredible, I don't want to say anti-manifestation, but a new take on all of this self-help, how to get unwound from it. If someone wants to work with you, how can they learn, where, how, what can they do? How can they learn more about you?
You can go to my website, which will probably like I'll be in the link, but it's basically my name, like www.fleursclarandis.com. And you can find out a little bit more about me there, and you can like, stalk, lurk. I like to do that on people's websites and just kind of
Yes,
like
because you're
see.
not on social media. So it's,
Or you can sign up to my Substack, which is Words to Nourish Your Soul. I can drop a link in there as well. And
yes, please do.
basically, yeah, have a look and see that I like to write articles that I would often have like questions to, that I would have, like one of them I wrote was all about the dis-ease of not enoughness and how I cured my addiction to personal development, and like about
Mm.
resilience and manifestation and letting go, all that kind of juicy stuff. So yeah, you're very welcome in my
Oh,
world with absolutely no pressure obligation, because that's not what I do.
no, no, like I just remember thinking, how can I keep everything low and slow? How can I get more by doing less? And not ever, and just really moving, because I think I felt I was moving in alignment, but I wasn't really. Like I was moving in what was right again for other, like if I showed other people, I'm like, look, I'm doing all the right things. but that doesn't mean that it's in alignment either.
There's a
So
big difference between doing
yeah,
what's right and what's right for you. And it takes
yes.
to do what's right for you, because sometimes it is the total opposite of what, like, you're going against the tide.
Yes, completely. And again, we don't want you to have total body shutdown and or brain aneurysm in order to figure this out. So, Flora, thank you so much. This has been an absolute delight.
Oh, thank you so much. I've had such a blast, and I really hope that like your listeners take home some like nuggets of joy. And whatever it is that you're going through, please know that you are never ever alone. There is always somebody out there who cares, who will give you the time of day. And yeah, like
Mm.
you can always reinvent yourself as long as your heart still beats and you have your hand on your heart. You have purpose, you have life, you have a gift. So go live it.
Ah, I love that. What a beautiful way to end this episode. Thank you, dear.
Thank you.